I'm going to hold this up this time. I'm not going to try to put it in that. I don't know how that turned out. I'm just going to finish this. It went off. Um, I was telling about the plane going down. The name of it was Piedmont Airlines. And by the way, the young fella, maybe I won't put their names up again, but he was friends of Mark and Scott, my sons, and his father was a pilot had been for years for Piedmont Airlines. Uh, anyway, it crashed, and the first on the scene was Jack Hartsfield that I talk about. He saved my life in Huntsville when I was almost killed after doing the book, and Larry McDonald, Congressman, doctor, Piedmont Hospital, was a subject in the book, certainly, and then went down in the KAL, and I ran to replace him for U.S. Congress and was flown out to Larry Flint's home in Bel Air. And I usually put up the endorsement in Hustler magazine. He says I know who's responsible for his shooting in Lawrenceville, Georgia. I was living in Marietta doing the book in '78, MD A License to Kill. And it was about programming people to shoot or kill in any manner. Just they programming them to run the car in the river and drown, or etc., or develop cancer and die or heart attack or suicide, like they say Robin Williams did, and he didn't. Anyway, where am I here? I'm trying to explain. Wayne Williams, oddly enough, shows up at the Piedmont plane carrying some people from NASA in Huntsville went down. And he was first on the scene because he was also a photographer. It was later when he was charged with killing two of the black children, and the killings went on, and then the list was the book that was printed and by Chet Dellinger, an FBI agent who they charged with the murders and then dropped it and charged Wayne because Chet Dellinger didn't do it either. But you should read the book if you can get your hands on it, the list. Okay, now where am I here? Okay, first on the scene. Nobody else was there. They were the first on the scene. In fact, they showed pictures at the Atlanta Jackson Hartsfield Airport. They should never have changed the name. It was Hartsfield. I don't think it's named after my friend Jack Hartsfield. His cousin was Hank Hartsfield, the astronaut who was commander of two shuttles. So Jack saved my life later on in '80 and was a friend, and he knew Larry Flint. Well, Jack Hartsfield was a reporter, but he was FBI undercover and worked for the press and tried to get a lot of things. I put letters up that he gave me to put up because he couldn't get stuff published either. So now then that I don't lose you on this or lose myself trying to go back because I'm tired. I really am. I just wish, and my health is declining too. Um, okay, Jack. Okay, get this point I was gonna make. Jack and this friend of, well, no, he wasn't a friend necessarily. No, he wasn't a friend. Excuse me. They just met. Wayne Williams was a photographer, and he was the first on the scene. And at the Piedmont crash in Cedartown, Georgia, and I can't remember what year. I guess you can still, because there was NASA employees on it, and some of them died weird there at Piedmont. They were taken there. That's Larry McDonald, all the people I've been talking about. Okay, Jack was the first reporter, but he's FBI on the scene, and Wayne Williams, who later, he's in prison for the murders of the black children in 1980, 79, 80, and Mary Welcome was the attorney who was going to get a deposition from me, and I was suddenly almost killed again. It's who tried to do it and how. And then it was taken away from her. It was last name Marcus. He was retired. Well, MK Ultra, am I trying? No, CIA, excuse me. MK Ultra, CIA. Okay. he took it over, which was illegal out of the ordinary, but he did, and nobody pays attention to any of it. So anyway, where am I going with this? I'm going to this, and then I'm going to stop. I'm tired, and I'm not making this the best videos going. I know I'm bobbing up and down and all this, losing my hair and health. But anyway, back to 83 when I entered the campaign, and met, okay, that's when the Yen Zorings, I was working through Hawkins Temp Agency, had entered the campaign and to replace Congressman Dr. Larry McDonald. Remember, he's back to the hospital, Piedmont, and all this mess. And I had met, well, I had written Larry Flint. I had never met him. I knew his shooting was done, or murder. Some people think that's not the real Larry Flint that's out there. And I hope I'm not hurting him. I'm not sure myself, except it's kind of strange that someone can be shot with a magnum and his guts all over the sidewalk of Lawrenceville, Georgia. And, you know, I hope I'm not doing a disservice here saying that. But anyway, I got a job temp through Hawkins. And by the way, my little ittle-bitty campaign headquarters was across the hall from there. They sent me up to Kennesaw Hospital, and I'm having to walk and wear the same dress, and they were a pair of shoes that killed my feet to walk all that way up to Kennesaw and work for Dr. Ruth McClure. She was a OBGYN, or just gynecologist maybe. Can't remember now. I think she had been OB. But she'd been in practice for years, and she hired me. And she told me, she said, well, I was part-time, or through the temp. But she did offer me a job there before I left. I later wish I'd taken it, I guess, but then I heard she retired not long after that. My point in making this is she told me that she and her nurse made a point to go out and vote for me, and she says, I hope you win. She also told me that she had been a roommate with Rosena Mathews, whose husband was Warren, and they were shot. And they had worked as forensic psychiatrists at Piedmont Hospital, and they were gunned down. And that Buddy Darden, who ran with me in the campaign, and he won, was a district attorney in that those murders, and one of the girl in there was hypnotized. So later Tom Sheeran retried it, and the whole thing has been blown out in history. If you don't follow it and you didn't know about it back then, it's changed. The whole mess has changed. Okay, where did I get to? Rosena Mathews was a roommate with Ruth McClure that I'm working for now during the campaign. And she's a GYN doctor. She said that they were roommates in college. And she knew, I can't remember her exact words now, but she knew that I was telling the truth about the murders. And she said, I hope that you win. And she offered me a job. And of course, I thought, I was flown out to Larry Flint's, and I thought that things were going to get better. And I suppose they did. For a while, I had a place and I had a car for a little while, but that was such a problem. I was hoping I'd get my children out of Atlanta, and it just has been an ongoing, and I don't even know where my children are. I hope they're alive and well, or I couldn't live, I don't think. I couldn't, I'd like to repay the Brits and the people that helped me through this. But it's my children that are what you live for, and the Brits that didn't forget me. They came up on the mountain and slept on the rocks next to me, just down from me.